If you remember, I spent a summer working in India back in 2015, 10 years ago actually, right around this time, which is crazy enough. And was a young seminarian. And some of the most important weeks of my life was working in Calcutta. But at the end of the trip, I was with two other seminarians, one a priest in Iowa and another priest down in Springfield, Illinois. And the guy from Davenport in Iowa, he had a professor at a former seminary whose family was in Chennai. And if any of you know why we were in Chennai, you're a good Catholic. If not, you got to read more, right? Chennai is actually where St. Thomas, like doubting Thomas, the apostle, we celebrated earlier this month on July 3rd, he's buried there in Chennai. One of the three apostles who remains buried where he's been his entire time. So we made a little pilgrimage down to Chennai, and he had this former professor who was from that part of India. It's a very, very, very old Christian community. You know, they have apostolic roots to their faith, and they're very proud of it. And this priest's sister was still there, so they agreed to take us in for a little bit as we went and visited this area and saw where St. Thomas is buried. And we went there, and it was very humbling. You know, one, when I'm in a country like India, I kind of tower over people here, but you know, when I'm in Mexico, they're like, "Oh, it's a giant," you know, or like I'm in India and I'm just walking around. These little like, "Oh." But, you know, they've got different norms than we do. They don't really use utensils, and there is a lot of poverty, but even when people do have things, they live very simply. So when they had these three Americans, you know, come to their house, they just kind of laid the red carpet out for us. And it was incredibly humbling. Like, we had this first meal at this house. I don't know anybody, and I don't know anybody who knows these people, you know, like, there's this guy who knows a priest from Minnesota who was there, and it's just like, we have no connection to these people, and we're in their house. And not only are we in their house, but they're, you know, using their hands in trays on the ground where they put us three seminarians on the table, and they went out and bought silverware for us. They don't use it. So we're like using plates, stickers still on the bottom of the plate, and silverware, like eating like the Queen of England, and they're on the ground using their hands. I'm like, something is wrong about this picture. It was very, very awkward, but they were just so gracious in their hospitality. It stuck with me, you know, all these years later, and they took us around to the sites, and it was a great trip. But just the way that complete strangers, yes, we were seminarians, and they were proud that we were there visiting what they're very proud of and their, you know, tradition and history of Christianity. But they had this just unbelievable hospitality. For people who had so little, they were so willing to give you the shirt off their back, or even to go and buy something that they don't even have, just to make you feel at home and accommodating. You know, and today we have these sort of two readings about hospitality, right? I think this week we always focus on Martha and Mary, and Martha gets a bad rap, and there's a lot of individuals in this room who maybe over the years have had this consistent sort of like angst about this gospel. I was just like, yeah, Mary needs to get up and help. She's a lazy Mary, all right? Martha's working her tail off, and I don't get it, you know? Whereas in this first reading, we've got this interaction where Abraham has three guests just appear out of nowhere, and he knows they're not from around here. And his just jumps, you know, he's in the shade, hiding from the heat, and he jumps up and he serves them, and he gets a whole feast going for them. And then he's able to have the son that he was promised. What is this all about? You know, and it goes back that God had promised him all these generations. And at that time, he was 99 years old. He was waiting, he was waiting, he was waiting, he was waiting, and finally his wife says, here's my handmaid, go do it. And then that's how we had the whole thing. We just had these in the daily mass readings a couple weeks ago. But then afterwards, there's just this thought like, no, I should have trusted in the Lord. And he has this entire internal reflection where he realizes, like, I was off. I did not trust in what the Lord promised to me, that I would have these generations numbered amongst the stars. And he gets right with the Lord. He spends that time with silence. And then it's in that he's dialed in and focused and ready. He's waiting for the Lord to fulfill his promise. So when they come, he sees the moment and he jumps into it. And yes, he has that gracious hospitality. And then he's able to bring a child into the world, right? With his wife. With Martha and Mary, yes, Mary has chosen the better part. She's with the Lord. She recognizes it. And yes, Martha's slaving away. She also has God in her presence and wants it to go well. But it's not in her hospitality that she errs. Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. This is where Martha messes up. She's not dialed in. She's not focused. She's distracted. She's anxious. In our own lives, whether it's our sins, whether it's our possessions, whether it's the world or the news or media or all the things out there, how divided is our hearts? How much do we allow the worries of the world and anxiety to kind of take over? A lot of us do. And all of us have fallen to it at one point or another in our lives. But I think it's very safe to say that this is the most anxious the world has ever been. Because it's the farthest the world has ever been from what anchors us to peace. And that is the silence that Mary has leaned into. And we can talk about, like, those in India, they've got a greater joy. Why? Because they don't have as many material possessions, right? When you have less, you worry less. That's how life works. So the happiest people I ever met had nothing but dirt. And they were truly happy. We got all these things, and we're freaking out about all of them. All the things going on. First and foremost, the phone. You put the phone away, you'll worry less. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. All these things, all this noise, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about me. Stop worrying. Just stop it. You need to be quiet and listen and ask the Lord, what is weighing down my soul? What is weighing down my marriage? What is weighing down my life? And then let it go. Let it go. And to be quiet with the Lord. Yes, we want to love in a unique way, but when we're anxious, we can't do it. So for us, brothers and sisters, let's have a real talk with the Lord, as we so beautifully do. He's going to dwell in the home of our soul in a few moments. Just as Martha and Mary had the Lord in their home. And we have that opportunity to be like Mary and to see what's right before us. May we never hear those words. You are anxious and worried about many things, but be tethered to the peace that can only come from Christ.